Wargaming have made some absolutely awful ideas within World of Tanks, but one of the ideas that wasn't terrible was introducing the Minotaur. At least from my personal opinion of playing this tank, this is unbelievably good. Like, genuinely one of the best kind of heavy tanks that I've played in a long time, and it was so fun to play, not only because it's a true heavy tank in the sense that you have to rely on your armor to make this tank really work superbly, but it also has the main armament as well, which is really good, and can be super powerful when you get it into the right sort of position, that sort of thing. It's really good to play, and that is ultimately what we're after with a tank like the Minotaur. It's all about pushing forward and being the brunt or the bearer of bad news for the enemy team. And actually, having played the Minotaur for a few games, it was actually gifted to me by Fat Little Bernie, who was a massive help to essentially be able to get all of these random tanks that are within the game. So really big thank you to you. But the Minotaur is one of those tanks where you can just go forward and you can punish opponents really well, and that is because not only does it get the armor, not only does it get fairly decent speed at its top end, but it also gets a fantastic main armament, and that is what we're showcasing today. It is the pure damage that this tank can deal, and also the fact that most people may think, oh, it's just a KV5. Well, yes, this is a KV5, but this is not the standard KV5. This is a buffed version of the KV5, which Wargaming then sold as a new premium, which is, I mean, dodge, but either way, we're going to take advantage of it because this meets tier 10. So that is how they've kind of said that this is balanced. And in fact, talking about KV5s, the enemy team's KV5 rocks up right here. And of course, he's not in a great position when it comes to kind of coming up against us, because our vehicle has better armor. I think that the KV5 has slightly worse armor than the Minotaur because this tank meets tier 10 and so needs armor to be able to cope with that. The KV5, however, doesn't have armor, and, well, it has armor, but it doesn't meet tier 10, so it doesn't need tier 10 armor. However, this one does. And the fact that this tank also meets tier 10, they basically buffed its damage per minute, and they also buffed its speed, I think. And so this tank is superbly dangerous for pretty much everyone and anyone that ever runs into it. Now, the enemy Tiger P, which is a tier 8 heavy, it is what you would expect to come up against, is up against us. Now, unfortunately for him, he's using the HE gun, and there is absolutely no way, I can wholeheartedly say there's no way the Tiger P would have been able to take out a full health Minotaur, let alone full health KV5, let alone a Minotaur, because that tank just doesn't have the pen to be able to reliably go through, and without being an absolute bot in the Minotaur or KV5, there's just no way you'd let someone actually take you out from full health. Now then, so we've done 3,000 damage, and you're probably thinking, well, that's a very good result for a tier 8. For the most part, you know, it's not necessarily the best result, but you would not be throwing that back in the face of someone that said, you know what, next game you're going to have a 3,000 damage game. However, this doesn't stop at 3,000. No. This is my first ever game in the Minotaur, and of course we set the enemy KV5 on fire twice, because why wouldn't you want to just set them on fire? And we come away with 4,500 damage, pretty much removing the entire hit points of the enemy KV5, and the only tank that's really done any damage to us was the enemy artillery, who's decided he's going with the AP round to try and pen us. I don't really blame him, but not necessarily something you should do. Now, for some reason, after we hit the T-77, he just went full AFK, and I don't really know what was going on in his brain, but he did. Unfortunately for us, we do get tracked up in the air, but we hit the batch at 12T because he didn't pull down on the right side of that kind of hills to avoid us being able to get a shot into him, and then we miss somehow, which I genuinely have no idea about, the batch at 25 or 12T there. We do shut down the T-77 on the enemy team, and then out of nowhere, having already done 5,500 damage, a full health charioteer appears, and we're like, ooh, maybe I'll slurp up some more of that damage, as well as come in and finish him off, potentially, having picked up 4 enemies destroyed. The enemy GW Panther, who has a lovely 802 hit points, is definitely the tank that we want, so we're gonna pummel him with a few rounds, and yes, it is possible to go in and pummel people with with just a few rounds, but of course it is now health buff artillery, so 802 hit points means we'll have to hit him 3 times, because the Minotaur gets 320 alpha, I believe, on every single round, which is why it has okay damage per minute, and why we've been able to come away with as much damage as we have been, because the damage per minute is actually pretty okay. And also you can kind of just sit there and get all of the tanks that you need to. Now unfortunately for the Batchat 12T, a rush of adrenaline to the brain ended up with him upside down on his roof and taken out, so by himself. And of course, yes, a victory. 2,321 base experience means that was definitely one of the best games within the Minotaur in a while, because anything over 2,000 base experience is a very good game. You can pretty much claim that yourself. Anyone will basically say so. And yeah, if you're getting way above that, then yeah, it's just a very, very good game. But 6,100 damage done with some assistance as well. Mastery class badge as well. And then we jump into the next game, because don't worry, the subsequent game, literally directly after us, is the next in this replay. So of course, having thought, you know what, there's no way we're going to be able to get 2 insane replays in a row, are we? Well, apparently in the Minotaur that is possible, because it's A, shown on this video, hence why it must have been a good game, but B, because usually like when you've had an absolutely stumper game, you end up then like being way too confident in the subsequent games and end up just getting taken out. So yes, I was very confident in this game. I was very confident of the armour, and considering that this is a top tier matchup in this vehicle, then yes, it's definitely a game that you can push forward and be the aggressor. Now, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to come down over onto the southern side of the map. Maybe we can push into their spawn. Unfortunately, for our team, there's basically no one down here at all, other than me and this medium tank. Got some tank destroyer support up in the base, but they're not really going to be able to do a whole lot if we don't kind of get into position and start spotting for them. So that is what I'm attempting to do at the beginning. I'm also attempting to get some damage on people on the hill. Now, one thing that you should always note is that coming to this position is awful. You should never come to this position unless you're very confident in the fact of like kind of gonna push, or you're gonna want to spot. And if your team is going to spot the hill, anyone that's up there, it kind of nullifies them being able to hit you, because in order to hit you, they'll have to expose themselves to all of your teammates who are sat on the hill waiting. So yeah, it doesn't end up being too much of a problem, but you should definitely think about it when deciding what you want to do on the game subsequently. But either way, really good game in the Minotaur, and we're going to now push. Now, I was kind of getting a bit I don't know, cocky, I don't know. I was thinking, you know what, I'm in the Minotaur, I'm gonna go. And with pretty much our team kind of starting to slowly dwindle into the southern side of the map, then I thought, you know what, let's actually go and push. Let's be the aggressor in this sort of scenario. Now, I'm seeing that the Panther is indeed coming forward. I saw he knocked down a tree. Maybe I was a bit too eager with that shell. Maybe he was further over, but either way, we're now going for the tracking shot, and uh-oh, 2 super high damage per minute 87s come out of nowhere, come out of the woodwork. And I'm thinking, you know what, nah. We don't like the 87 whatsoever. And I'm thinking, maybe it's honestly time to just start farming them. Because I can sit here, I can basically bounce rounds. The 87s, to all intents and purposes, can't really. I mean, I don't know how we missed that shell on the cupola, or I didn't even manage to hit the 87 there, but either way it doesn't really matter. And oh gosh, I'm actually getting penned, and that's because they're hitting the big droids on the front of the Minotaur, but they can only hit me for so many times before they're out of the game, because remember, the damage per minute is good, so we can remove their hit points pretty quickly. Now the AT7 here seems to actually know the weak points of the Minotaur, so I wasn't necessarily kind of all too ashamed of maybe bouncing around or maybe actually getting penned every now and again. But we're pushing quite hard into the AT7 here, just trying to get as much damage as possible. He of course is trying to pull back to hit the lower plate of the Minotaur, which is a good play, but it doesn't really help him all too much. And now it's time to start farming the IS-2, or the ISM even, which is the tier 8 Soviet heavy that goes on to the Object 705A, obviously trying to complete the operation to push forward. Unfortunately for him, he has to meet a tank like this, which is not good for him whatsoever. But unfortunately for us, we do take a ton of damage, so we've actually become now a one-shot for some people on the game, so we have to be a little bit careful with regards to how we play this next game, because or this next few moments, because the IS-3, he could one-shot us if he rolls average, since we have 386 hit points, so I don't want to really get spotted. I don't know what the tank destroyers on the enemy team are entirely, so we definitely don't want to be kind of getting pushed or pushing into things that we don't really know about. So that's really where my thought process is in this game. And so I'll move over to the left. Now, the left-hand position over here by the church is kind of good if you can guarantee that you've kind of got some support on the south. Now, tick, we do have some support on the south. So anyone that is kind of going to push up from the right hand side is going to be open to attack, and from this position we allow ourselves to spot the hill area or potentially get any damage on people that might get spotted on the hill area. But the game is coming to a close with just 3 enemy tanks on the team and 1 artillery piece, so I'm thinking, you know what, it's time to just go. I don't really mind if the Tiger P manages to actually take me out, but it's unlikely anyway, so we go in for the ram because the the Minotaur is heavy. It's super heavy, and with the Tiger P out in the open, it's almost a kind of feels bad for him, because what we can do is just continually pen him. The Tiger P, of course, not having particularly that much luck in the last 2 games that we've played against them. In the first one, just taking them out because they had the derp gun and no possible way of taking us out, and then in that one, just literally face hugging the Tiger P and them not being able to pen, and hence why we've been able to pick up 3,500 damage blocked and 4,740 damage done. Now the Bison, of course, wanted to give me a little bit more block damage, and he does so, and I'm not going to complain. So 4,742 damage done in this replay. Of course, a victory, and yeah, 1900 base experience again, being very close to that 2k mark, and yeah, a really brilliant result in these 2 games, literally consecutively after one another. But yeah, fantastic game, 5,300 combined. Mastery badge again, high caliber, steel wall, hand of god, bruiser, fire for effect, shell proof. I mean, the list goes on, but there you go. 2 fantastic games in one of the best tanks I've played in a long time, and I hope you guys did enjoy watching the Minotaur just tear through and just be a real upfront aggressive bull within these last 2 games. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out some of the new season pass tanks that we've had in the channel recently, and yeah, I hope I'll join you in one of those videos coming soon. Goodbye.